So I'm starting to read on line 245. It says, these knew each other, though in forms thus strange. This refers to Shraddhavan and Savitri. When they see each other, there's a moment of recognition. Although to sight unknown, though life and mind had altered to hold a new significance, these bodies summed the drift of numberless births, and the spirit to the spirit was the same. Amazed by a joy for which they had waited long, the lovers met upon their different paths. Travelers across the limitless plains of time, together drawn from fate-led journeyings in the self-closed solitude of their human past, to a swift, rapturous dream of future joy and the unexpected present of these eyes. By the revealing greatness of a look, form smitten, the spirit's memory woke in sense. The mist was torn that lay between two lives. Her heart unveiled, and his to find her turned. Attracted as in heaven, star by star, they wondered at each other and rejoiced and wove affinity in a silent gaze. A moment passed that was eternity's ray. An hour began, the matrix of new time. We'll start on this side today. Suresh, you will read.
These knew each other though in front
forms strange.
Although to sight unknown, so life and mind that altered to hold a new significance. These bodies summed the drift of numberless births, and the spirit to the spirit was the same.
Yes. So these two, Shraddhavan and Savitri, knew each other, although the forms are strange. They have never met each other in these forms before. No? So they don't know each other by sight. Life and mind have changed and are expressing a new significance. But still, these bodies which they are wearing now summed up the drift of numberless births. A sum is when we add up numbers and we get a total. We call that total the sum. So he's saying that these bodies that they are wearing now are like a summary or a coming together of the tendencies of many, many, many lives in which they have met each other before. And The spirit within each of them is the same spirit. So there's a sense of recognition, even though the forms are strange.
Amazed by a joy for which they had waited long, the lovers met upon their different paths, travelers across the limited plains.
Limitless.
Plains of time, together drawn from fate-led journeyings, in the self-closed solitude of their human past, to a swift rapturous dream of future joy and the unexpected present of these eyes.
Yes. So they are both feeling amazed. They're feeling amazed at this joy which has come so suddenly and unexpectedly, and yet it feels as if they've been waiting for it a long time. They've come together, these lovers, destined lovers, have met. They've been traveling on their different paths, travelers across the limitless plains of time, long passages of time. Sometimes he speaks of time as an ocean, but here he's speaking of time as plains. Plains are often rather boring stretches of landscape. No, there aren't any beautiful features and picturesque corners. It's rather long and dull and boring. It's all the same. Yeah? I think that's what he wants to suggest here. Yeah? And here they've been drawn together from their separate journeyings. They've been traveling on their separate paths, and they've been being led by fate, by destiny. Yeah? So they've been journeying, each of them alone, in the self-closed solitude. They've been journeying individually, separately, in their human past, in this birth, in these bodies. But now suddenly they've been brought together to this moment which wakes up a swift, sudden, quickly coming, rapturous dream, a wonderfully happy dream, a dream of future joy, the feeling for each of them that this person holds the key to all their future happiness. And that's expressed in the meeting of their eyes, the unexpected present of these eyes. When people fall in love at first sight, it's often like that, through the eyes. Sergei.
By the revealing greatness of the look for Smita, the spirit's memory woke in sense.
So they look at each other, no? And in that look which they exchange, there's a greatness, a power, something very, very significant that is revealing. It opens up so that they both discover something. So it's because of this look, this revealing greatness of a look, the spirit's memory wakes up in sense, in the senses, in the nerves of the body. The spirit can recognize directly, but now it's waking up that sense of recognition and familiarity even in the body. He uses this word form smitten. To smite means to strike, to give a blow. So when they look, they see a beautiful form, each of them sees, and that form is as if giving a waking up blow to the memory of the spirit, remembering that they have met before. that they are eternal lovers. And that wakes up in the senses, in the body. Emily?
The mist was torn that lay between two lives. Her heart unveiled, and his to find her turned. Attracted as in heaven, star by star, they wondered at each other and rejoiced, and wove affinity in a silent gaze.
So, these two lives, they've been lived separately, now they're coming together, but there's still some kind of mist in between. But now even that mist of separateness gets torn, separated, and her heart unveils itself, opens itself, shows itself fully, and his heart turns to find her, to discover her. And Sri Aurobindo says this meeting there's an attraction felt between them, which is like the attraction that is felt in the skies, in space. Stars attract each other. There's a power of attraction which draws stars together. Each of them is like a star, these beautiful souls, these beautiful beings. They are attracted, they're filled with wonder and amazement. They feel joy, they rejoice, and they wove affinity in a silent gaze. Without speaking, they continue to look at each other. A gaze, un regard, they look at each other. And in that look, they are making a connection. They are weaving a connection of affinity. Affinity is when you feel, for whatever reason, very close to somebody. For some subtle psychological reason, there's an affinity. You feel a harmony and a closeness. Ganga Lakshmi?
Yeah. The moment passed at once eternities an hour began the matrix of the new time.
So, as they share that silent gaze, that moment, it seems like a ray of light coming from beyond the boundaries of the universe, eternity's ray. And that moment is the beginning of an hour, a time that will be the matrix of new time. Nowadays we use this word matrix in a very technological sort of sense, that in graphs and mathematics and things like that. But if we look at the origin of the word, it means a mother, something that is giving birth. So that's the sense that Sri Aurobindo uses it in here. That out of this moment when they meet and they exchange this look, for each of them and for humanity also, because of the significance of the story, an hour of new time is beginning. A big change will come about, not only in their own individual lives, but for all of us. Out of the voiceless mystery of the past, in a present ignorant of forgotten bonds, these spirits met upon the roads of time. Yet in the heart their secret conscious selves at once aware grew of each other, warned by the first call of a delightful voice, and a first vision of the destined face. As when being cries to being from its depths, behind the screen of the external sense, and strives to find the heart-disclosing word, the passionate speech revealing the soul's need. But the mind's ignorance veils the inner sight. Only a little breaks through our earth-made bounds. So now they met in that momentous hour. So utter the recognition in the deeps, the remembrance lost, the oneness felt and missed. Thus Shraddhavan spoke first to Savitri. O thou who comest to me out of time's silences, yet thy voice has wakened my heart to an unknown bliss. Immortal or mortal only in thy frame, for more than earth speaks to me from thy soul, and more than earth surrounds me in thy gaze. How art thou named among the sons of men? Whence hast thou dawned, filling my spirit's days, brighter than summer, brighter than my flowers, into the lonely borders of my life? O sunlight, molded like a golden maid. I know that mighty gods are friends of earth. Amid the pageantries of day and dusk, long have I travelled with my pilgrim soul, moved by the marvel of familiar things. Earth could not hide from me the powers she veils. Even though moving mid an earthly scene and the common surfaces of terrestrial things, my vision saw unblinded by her forms. The Godhead looked at me from familiar scenes. I witnessed the virgin bridals of the dawn behind the glowing curtains of the sky, or vying in joy with the bright morning steps. I paced along the slumberous coasts of noon, or the gold desert of the sunlight crossed, traversing great wastes of splendor and of fire, or met the moon gliding amazed through heaven in the uncertain wideness of the night. Or the stars marched on their long sentinel routes, pointing their spears through the infinitudes. The day and dusk revealed to me hidden shapes. Figures have come to me from secret shores, and happy faces looked from ray and flame. I have heard strange voices cross the ether's waves. The centaur's wizard song has thrilled my ear. I have glimpsed the apsaras bathing in the pools. I have seen the wood nymphs peering through the leaves. The winds have shown to me their trampling lords. I have beheld the princes of the sun burning in 1,000-pillared homes of light. So now my mind could dream and my heart fear that from some wonder couch beyond our air, risen in a wide morning of the gods, thou drovest thy horses from the thunderer's worlds. Although to heaven thy beauty seems allied, much rather would my thoughts rejoice to know that mortal sweetness smiles between thy lids, and thy heart can beat beneath a human gaze, and thy aureate bosom quiver with a look, and its tumult answer to an earth-born voice. I think we'll pause there. He has still quite a lot to say, but we won't go into it now. Yes.
Out of the voiceless mystery of the past, in a present ignorant of forgotten bonds, this spirit man upon the roads of time.
Thank you. So he's making a link with the previous canto, repeating in another way what he has said there. And he's saying these spirits which now are Savitri and embodied as Savitri and Shraddhavan, they are meeting on the roads of time, coming out of that voiceless mystery of the past, this sense of recognition, meeting something familiar, but they don't remember. They are in the present moment, they are ignorant, they don't know about, and they have forgotten about those connections which they've had in many previous lives. So that mystery of the past is often voiceless for us. We don't know what has happened there, no? Here we are in this present, we are ignorant of forgotten bonds of connection. But these spirits have met upon the roads of time. Joella.
Yet in their heart, their secret conscious selves, at once aware, grew of each other warmed by the first call of a delightful voice and the first vision of the destined face.
So the secret conscious selves, the souls, have at once grown aware of each other, but they've been made aware, they've been warned by physical signs. He, by the sound of Savitri's voice. When she saw him, she stopped the horses and just her heart cried out like a bird, Sri Aurobindo said. So that was the sound that drew his attention to her. And she was drawn to him by this first vision of a delightful face, a face that fills her with delight. So the secret conscious selves within are warned by these outer signs, and they wake up. Then we've got another long sentence. She, if you will read.
as when being cries to being from its depths, behind the screen of the external sense, and strives to find the heart-disclosing word, the passionate speech revealing the soul's need. But the mind's ignorance veils the inner sight. Only a little breaks through our earth-made bounds. So now they met in that momentous hour. So utter the recognition in the deeds, the remembrance lost, the oneness felt and missed.
Thank you. So he gives us a simile. He says this kind of thing happens, that we meet and the being, the true inner being, calls out, wants to communicate with another being from its depths, behind the screen of the external sense, our physical sense impressions of sight and hearing. Behind that, the beings are calling out to each other. So then each one will strive to find some way of expressing that feeling, of saying something that will express, which will communicate. Each of them would like to find the heart-disclosing word, a word that would show, would express the innermost feeling. The passionate speech, revealing the soul's need. But speech is an instrument of the mind, and the mind's ignorance veils, it covers up that inner sight. So the mind doesn't find the way to express. Only a little breaks out through our earth-made bounds, our physical limitations. It's just like that for Shraddhavan and Savitri. So now they meet at this very special, fate-loaded, momentous hour. There is this complete recognition in the souls, in the deeps. But on the surface, the remembrance is lost. There's just a feeling of oneness and of something missing. You like to read?
Thus Shraddhavan spoke first to Savitri, O thou who come to me out of time silence, yet thy voice has wakened my heart to an unknown bliss. Immortal or mortal, only in thy fame. For more than yet speaks to me from thy soul, and more than yet surrounds me in thy gaze. How art thou named among the sons of men?
Let's pause there. So here we are coming across this form, thou, he says he doesn't say you, he says thou. This is the old second person singular. Nowadays, in ordinary, everyday English, we don't use this form. It gets used in poetry, it gets used in prayers sometimes. But it's actually something very, very useful, because whether we say thou or you can tell us whether we're just speaking to one person or to many people. So here in this poem, Sri Aurobindo uses this singular form. So he's saying, O thou, O you. And the verb is also different. We would say, you who come to me. But comest. This is the form that the verb takes with thou. You are coming to me out of time's silences, and yet thy voice, thy, this is the possessive form, your voice, the sound of your voice has woken up my heart to a bliss, an intense delight that I did not know before. And then he's asking her a question. He says, are you immortal, or are you a mortal being only in your frame, in your body? Because more than earth speaks to me from thy soul. He feels that she's more than an ordinary, just a purely physical, ordinary human being. And more than earth surrounds me in thy gaze. When you look at me, I feel surrounded by an atmosphere which is not just a physical atmosphere, it's something divine and special. How art thou named among the sons of men? What is your name? What do people call you? So these are the first two questions that we will ask. What's your name? And where do you come from? That's the next sentence.
And why do you say sons of men?
Among the sons of men, among human beings, what is the name that they have given you? You might have a divine name on another plane, but what do people call you? Yes. Leila?
Whence hast thou dawn filling my spirit's days, brighter than summer, brighter than my flowers, into the lonely borders of my life, O sunlight, molded like a golden maid?
So here we see that he's a prince, you know. He may have grown up in the forest, but he's learned to speak properly to a beautiful princess. You know? And we notice this, that he has in him something of the poet also. So the way that he speaks to her now. So he doesn't just say, where have you come from, or where are you coming from, and where are you going to? He says, whence, from where have you dawned? You are like a sun rising, filling the days of my spirit, brighter than summer, brighter than all my flowers here on the edge of the forest. Here you have come into the lonely borders of my life. His life is there in the forest, and what is she doing there? How has she come there into this lonely place on the edge of the forest? He says, you look like a ray of sunlight molded into the shape of a golden maid, a young woman, a young girl. You read, Shiv? Yes. Gumsun.
I know that mighty gods are friends over earth.
Yes, continue.
Amid the
Pageantries.
pageantries of day and dusk, long have I traveled with my pilgrim soul, moved by the marvel of familiar things.
So now he's taking a whole page to develop this theme of, are you a human being or are you a goddess? No? And he says, I know that the gods are close to earth, the mighty gods are friends of earth, and then he tells her how he knows that. So amid the pageantries, the dramas, the moving dramas, a pageant is a kind of play that they do in the streets, a scene here and a scene there, and usually with very gorgeous costumes and colorful. So he says the day and the dusk, it's like a pageantry, it's like a wonderful drama of light. He says, I've been traveling through these wonderful displays of nature, I've been traveling for a long time with my pilgrim soul. My soul has been traveling on a journey which has a goal. No? A pilgrim knows where he's going. And he says, through all this, I've been moved, I've been touched by the marvel, the miraculousness, the beauty of familiar things. No? There's something significant and deep. I've sensed a divine presence behind all this, or divine presences. Martin.
Earth could not hide from me the powers she veils. Even thou moving with an earthly scene, and the common surfaces of terrestrial things, my vision saw unblinded by her forms. The Godhead looked at me from familiar scenes.
So, earth, the material principle, veils many supraphysical powers and presences. But he says she couldn't hide them entirely from me. I saw these things, even though I was moving around in this earthly scene and surrounded by the common surfaces of terrestrial things, earthly things, all these physical appearances, seeing all these surfaces. Still, I could see beyond those surfaces. I could see unblinded by the physical forms of earth. The Godhead, the divine presence, looked at me from these familiar scenes. And now he lists many of these wonderful things, these divine powers that he has glimpsed. It's a very long sentence. You read part of it, I'll stop you, Dhanalakshmi.
I witnessed the virgin bridals of the dawn. Behind the glowing curtains of the sky are vying joy with the bright morning's steps. I placed along the slumberous coast of noon, or the gold desert of the sunlight crossed, traversing great ways of splendor and of fire, or met the moon gliding amazed through heaven in the uncertain whiteness of the night, or the stars marched on their long sentinel routes, pointing their spears through the infinitudes.
Thank you. So the first thing he mentions is the dawn, the virgin bridals of the dawn. There's something so pure about the dawn, and yet at the same time it's a festival, a celebration. This is a marriage ceremony, perhaps the marriage of with the day. But this is hidden, this marriage of lights behind the glowing curtains of the sky. We see all those beautiful colors in the dawn. So he's seeing something happening, some union happening there. Or the bright morning, he says that he would walk. I paced, I walked along the slumberous coasts of noon. Noon is the middle of the day, the brightest time of day. And it's as if that's a kind of borderline, a coast. A coast is where the sea meets the land, but this is a meeting of different times, the morning. So it's as if the bright morning is walking along the coast of the noon, the very hottest time and brightest time of the day, and he's walking along with it, vying in joy. He's to vie with somebody means to compete. so he's feeling as bright and as joyful, maybe even more joyful than the morning itself. Or then, as if the very hottest part of the day is a desert, this gold desert of the sunlight. Sometimes here in India, the middle of the day, the sun can be so intense, it's really something like you're crossing a desert. No? So he would feel like that, crossing great wastes of splendor and fire, that intensity of the sun. Or then he would meet the moon, gliding amazed through heaven, as if it is the moon that is amazed, or he is amazed to see the moon, as it glides, as it's moving. When we see the moon gliding, it means normally that there are some clouds, otherwise we wouldn't see that gliding motion. In the uncertain wideness of the night, as if she's wandering, she doesn't know where she's going. Or he sees the stars as if they are warriors. This is a very common image for the stars. The stars marching as if they're an army on their long sentinel routes. A sentinel is a watchman, a guard. So the stars have to follow that route of their watch. And they have their spears, the light that comes from the stars. These are the warrior spears. They are guarding the earth, the universe. So all these different times of day, these different moods, these have expressed presences, symbolic presences behind to him. Can you read a few lines, Rosa? Yes.
The day and dusk revealed to me hidden shapes. Figures have come to me from secret shores, and happy faces looked from away and fled.
Yes. So he mentioned the day and dusk before, no? The contrast of the full daylight and the dusk, early morning dusk, twilight dusk, dusk of the night. But these times have revealed hidden shapes. He's had a subtle vision that could see these hidden shapes. He's seen figures, forms, beings have come to me from secret shores, from the hidden worlds. And happy faces have looked out at me from the sun's rays, and from flame. At night there would be a fire, and from the flame he would see faces dancing there. So I think we'll stop there today. Anybody has anything to ask? Any words? Well, we can read from the beginning of Canto 3, and if you notice anything that I haven't explained properly, you can ask. These knew each other, though in forms thus strange. Although to sight unknown, though life and mind had altered to hold a new significance, these bodies summed the drift of numberless births, and the spirit to the spirit was the same. Amazed by a joy for which they had waited long, the lovers met upon their different paths. Travellers across the limitless plains of time, together drawn from fate-led journeyings in the self-closed solitude of their human past, to a swift, rapturous dream of future joy and the unexpected present of these eyes. By the revealing greatness of a look, form-smitten, the spirit's memory woke in sense. The mist was torn that lay between two lives. Her heart unveiled, and his to find her turned. Attracted as in heaven, star by star, they wondered at each other and rejoiced and wove affinity in a silent gaze. A moment passed that was eternity's ray. An hour began, the matrix of new time. Out of the voiceless mystery of the past, in a present ignorant of forgotten bonds, these spirits met upon the roads of time. Yet in the heart their secret conscious selves at once aware grew of each other, warned by the first call of a delightful voice and a first vision of the destined face. As when being cries to being from its depths behind the screen of the external sense, and strives to find the heart-disclosing word, the passionate speech revealing the soul's need, but the mind's ignorance veils the inner sight. Only a little breaks through our earth-made bounds. So now they met in that momentous hour, so utter the recognition in the deeps, the remembrance lost, the oneness felt and missed. Thus Shraddhavan spoke first to Savitri. O thou who comest to me out of time's silences, yet thy voice has wakened my heart to an unknown bliss. Immortal or mortal only in thy frame, for more than earth speaks to me from thy soul, and more than earth surrounds me in thy gaze. How art thou named among the sons of men? Whence hast thou dawned, filling my spirit's days, brighter than summer, brighter than my flowers, into the lonely borders of my life. O sunlight, molded like a golden maid. I know that mighty gods are friends of earth. Amid the pageantries of day and dusk, long have I travelled with my pilgrim soul, moved by the marvel of familiar things. Earth could not hide from me the powers she veils. Even though moving mid an earthly scene and the common surfaces of terrestrial things, my vision saw unblinded by her forms. The Godhead looked at me from familiar scenes. I witnessed the virgin bridals of the dawn behind the glowing curtains of the sky, or vying in joy with the bright morning steps, I paced along the slumberous coasts of noon, or the gold desert of the sunlight crossed, traversing great wastes of splendor and of fire, or met the moon gliding amazed through heaven in the uncertain wideness of the night. Or the stars marched on their long sentinel routes, pointing their spears through the infinitudes. The day and dusk revealed to me hidden shapes. Figures have come to me from secret shores, and happy faces looked from ray and flame.